Hey peeps, welcome to Heart Talks. I have my soul sister Judith Kusel with me today, and I couldn't be happier. Judith, thank you so much for joining me once again. I've said this before and I'll say it again. When I'm with you, I am the fullest of myself. I am the most ancient of myself, and I feel so connected to the energy that you are and that you have been sharing with the world. Thank you so much for coming and joining with me again today.
Thank you for inviting me back. And to me, it's always a heart moment, a soul moment to connect with you. As you say, that ancient connection, which is beyond words. It's there in the soul, and we sort of know each other from infinity, and we will know each other ad infinitum.
Absolutely.
And to me, to be on your show on your show is both an honor and it is a privilege, but it's also heartfelt and soul-felt, like opportunity for me. And thank you so much for connecting with me and allowing me back on your show. Thank you so much. You are doing the most amazing work, and I know that everything that you do comes from deep inside you, and you radiate this forth. And thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, Judith, talking about manifesting your dreams, and I know the foundation of this manifestation is gratitude. But let's talk about your book, Why I Was Born in Africa.
Well, here it is. There it is.
And it's so beautiful.
This is my book, my journey in the last 10 years. That it come into manifestation is a miracle itself. I've been put through the grinder and the mills and through everything that you can think of in between. There were times when I literally had nothing, and I lost everything that I ever had. There was nothing that hasn't dissolved in my life at some stage. I had to literally go through the grinder and the mill and whatever else and be put back again into as pieces of a jigsaw puzzle and put back into order again. But I say thank you today for that journey and the deep nights of the soul, which finally got me to finally go on this journey after I lost my job. And it's so funny because somebody was saying to me the other day, but you've always been doing what you're supposed to do. And the interesting thing is that my soul and my part of my soul that always stays with the divine, with God, works in the super consciousness energy field. So I am a librarian, you know, in cosmic terms. That's what I do. And that I was librarian all my life. So in other words, I've always worked with information technology in some other form. And that is where I'm most happiest in. You know, I love having books around. That's why you see all these books behind me and I fall over them. But that to me is what makes me happy. It's where I love filling my space with. And interestingly, to get back into your office and say that if you don't vacate your office within 2 hours, it will be done for you. Well, I mean, that's a type of shock you don't expect after you've done your whole life doing what you love to do and more than you love to do. Right. And to have this whole carpet like pulled under you and you dangling in midair and you say, well, what the heck is happening here? And then today I say thank you because I went through a deep depression at that stage. I went through intense pain as I saw that all the work that I'd done to build up, you know, my library and the whole community suddenly just went, and it turned political and I had death threats coming my way. And now suddenly, you know, here you are, where now? And then what happened was that I was given a vision. I was standing at the edge of a cliff. And I was shown that there are thousands of people down at the bottom. And they said to me, well, how long are you going to stand at the edge of this cliff and not have the guts to finally jump down, you know? And they showed me how does an eagle learn to fly. My eagle is my totem. And the eagle is kicked out of the nest by the mother and it's got to find its wings and fly. And well, the next day I put in, and they said, well, you see all those thousands of people? They are waiting for you to finally do what your soul has come to do. Well, the next day I put in my resignation and that was like a big weight had gone off my shoulders. Little did I know in all that time how my life would transform, not only in a way that I never ever dreamt of, but that I would transform with the information that I would be retrieving and tapping into the whole of humanity's ideas of our origin and where we came from. What happened was first that I met, when I was in the Drakensberg, I connected to the Bushman energy through the spirit of a Bushman called Kam that appeared to me. And through that, I started to look at where the Bushman people had their energies, where the caves were. And then started to make a research on that. At that stage, I was working in the museum and the museum archives. And I started to read up about what did the colonists say when they were actually coming to Natal. Because Natal was empty. There was nobody living there. At the time when the Voortrekkers came in, they ran away from the British government and wanted to settle in Natal until the British government came with their boats through the ships, to Durban Harbour and said, no, you can't run away from us. This is British territory. Something like that. But in this whole thing, there was nobody living there except for the Bushmen. And so through all of this, and also reading about what was their sacred sites, where did they know that? It was always with energy centers. They was between mountains and where they had natural forest and where they had water. And then I started thinking, okay, for all those three ingredients were there, then what else was there? And I started connecting to the energy fields and the energy lines of the planet. And in that time, they said to me, okay, you go and find a map of Africa. I thought, oh my goodness, where do I find a map of Africa? In any case, I went and bought an atlas. And they said, okay, now find the 33-degree longitude line. Okay, what the 33-degree longitude? Now I'm drawing a line down the earth. So, okay, now what does that mean? He said, well, you asked where you were born. I said, yeah, I know. I wanted to know I was born in Africa. And they said, well, you were born at exactly the right place. Go find it. Okay, so now I go and look on. Okay, I was born on the 33-degree longitude line. And they said, okay, now go find the latitude line. So I drew the latitude line and they said, okay. Now, give 10 degrees this way and 10 degrees that way because the earth has shifted on its axles. And I thought myself, what the heck has that got to do with me? Even if the earth shifted on the axles, what has got to do with me? And with that, I started to connect to a crystal pyramid temple. And I thought myself, now what is going on here? I started to draw the crystal pyramids where I saw them in my mind on the map of Africa. And then one day when we had our family meeting, it's 150 anniversary of our family in South Africa. My brothers all took us up on top of the mountain of my childhood where we grew up. And as I was standing there in these fields and fields of gladioli, which were all wild flowers there, and they were flowering, I looked down on our family farms and where the Pongola River sort of runs through. And I saw the Sphinx and I saw the pyramids in the landscape. And then I knew I was exactly born at the place where I should have been born. And because my soul chose that place, because it was a sacred place and a sacred energy sled, and it had mountains and it had natural forests and it had water.
Perfect.
Through all of that, I started an awakening process. And I started to tap into the super consciousness energy fields. And it escalated in 2009 when I climbed into my car and they said, okay, now you've got to go to those places where we will show you, which are sacred to Africa. And we will give you the story of Africa, which has never been recorded. So I asked them, I said, well, where do I start my journey? So they said, well, take out your map of Africa. So there goes my map of Africa again. And I take a pencil and it lands, booms, on the coast, but it lands on what is called the garden routes of the Western Cape and between Knysna and Plettenberg Bay. Well, I'd never been there, so I get into my little car and now I've got to drive through the desert area of the Karoo. and as I was driving to us, I was getting in a dimensional shift. I was driving through tropical and islands with dinosaurs on them and a lot of lakes and whatever else. And I thought to myself, well, I don't know where I get this from. I mean, this is obviously what was there before. And when I stopped at Graafrenet, I had to stay there overnight. The first thing I find in my room where I was staying was the geologist's history of that area, where they say this was tropical, had dinosaurs, and was lakes. They were inland lakes that were there. I thought to myself, okay, all right, thank you. I'm not imagining things. And yeah, that became my journey. So I went from place to place, and my book, everything that I recorded in my journals, I used to date. And if I had to make sketches, I sketched. I took photographs of the areas where I went and had the most amazing experience, because I realized slowly, but pieces by pieces, that it used to be one big continent, and that pieces of this continent tore off. And the coast where I was where they literally tore off, but it also had crystal pyramids, sort of on that grid when it was touring off with the land masses. Now, the geologists tell you that as the land mass tore off, this part that tore off pushed that part up. And that is why you have immensely high mountains here, right on the coast. It's the most spectacular, beautiful coastline that we have. So in other words, this part went like, now if you go to the mountains here at the top, you find the sea sand there, and also rocks made from sea sand. So you see it was at a much lower level at one stage. And so I started to realize that what I was seeing was not my imagination, because the geologists were confirming what I was seeing in a different manner, because they tell you that Africa held a supercontinent. So it's not my imagination. They know it's there. And today, with this most sophisticated type of equipment, they're busy putting those jigsaw puzzle pieces together. It helped me in a way to realize that whatever I was recording, I am recording from a field, an energy field that I couldn't explain, but it was there. From that same experiences which I had at that stage came my soul readings later on, because it's the same energy field which records everything. It's like a giant computer that is held in one spot, and everything that's ever been created under the central suns is recorded in this field. And that field, because of our planetary and solar connection and our galaxies and the master galaxies that were involved with the creation of the earth and the inner earth, Agartha, all belong to the seventh central sun, which is the sun of illumination. So that is where our origin lies and where our connectedness, we are connected to energetically. So this book basically is a journey of discovery where I take you step by step about putting those jigsaw puzzle pieces together. And in the book, I go into detail about history that's never been recorded before. So in other words, it's things that you won't read in any other book. It is given to me basically by having faith. I mean, sometimes I didn't know where to go to. I didn't know what, but if I was told to go, so I would go. And I've learned if I've been told to go to that spot, I'll go there. And I will do what I have to do in the moment that I'm told where to do it. Like if I have to open up energy centers, I will do it right there. And as I was opening up these energy centers, the greater picture started to emerge. And in my books, I give maps. So with each map, the next step is revealed, and the next step, and the next step. Until with the last chapter of Antarctica, because Antarctica was the last that I needed to open up. You get the whole picture of how all the energy grids of this planet are put together and how each one fits into the greater whole. So nothing is randomly put there. It was put there in the beginning in order that this planet was in that stage functioning in the seventh dimensional state. And it was in the highest state that she's ever been. That was the Garden of Eden, which was Elysium. And Africa holds that energy because Africa is the only continent that sort of like stays stable because it's got the certain energy centers in them. And she held that steady. Now, a lot of people say, oh man, Africa is the worst, whatever else. I mean, look at Africa. She's poor and there's always this going on. Africa took the collective pain of the world upon her. So all the woes of mankind is in Africa. You go look at it, it's there. But you have to delve deeper in Africa in order to find her soul. You find her soul and you will find that she holds the whole world together. Wow. And the whole sacredness of the earth lies in Africa. It's Africa links everything else together. And through my book, I go in and I also tell you where the links come in from the supercontinents. Like Australia, for instance. Australia came to me via a crystal that was sent to me from Northern Territory in Australia. I get this crystal through the post and I had no idea what I was opening up. And I sort of take this crystal in my hand and nearly go zoom. What it was. And through this crystal, I was transported to the crystal pyramids which are held in Australia. And the crystal pyramid grids there. So through this all, the Australian links came in. And then they were telling me, no, you've got to go to Madagascar. And no travel agent in South Africa wanted me to go to Madagascar. They said, no, you're not going there. It's too wild. It's too primitive. You don't go there. Finish. And then I was led to go to Mauritius. And I was beautifully there because they invited me and they said, well, why don't you give seminars there? So I gave my first seminars overseas in Mauritius. And I had the most amazing time in Mauritius. Then I went to Reunion. And through this all, I opened up the energy grids and I connected Australia through this, because Australia used to be part of Africa. It used to be one continent. So through this whole thing of all of this came the downloads of what I was busy with. And so I have a chapter which is called And in the Beginning. Then I've got one on the Master Key temples. I talk about the Crystal Pyramid temples and I go into details about what they looked like, how they were built, what they were doing, and also the Crystal Pyramid temple of a white flame, which basically was the main temple. Then I go into what happened. What happened to Elysium? I go into the wars of heaven. How did darkness start? Where did darkness came from? How did it affect? Why were there wars in heaven? That type of thing. And then I go to Africa's keys and codes. And then how the code is revealed to me. In other words, how all of this is coming so that it becomes a code which awakens humanity. And then I go into the sound and the sound vibrations that work with the whole earth and the vibrational spiraling energies, the vortex energy, which is what the ancient knew how to use. And then I also go into the seventh galaxy of the seventh central sun, the sun of illumination, and I talk about the sun discs. So this whole book is basically then a journey of discovery as I was doing it, carefully documented, backed up with photos and maps and sketches that I made. And then this is what's transmitted through me about the unrecorded history of Elysium and the Lion Kingdom. For instance, I met the lion people. They appeared to me in the higher dimensional form. And I was taken to the massive cities that they built. Now, they were the master architects and engineers of the cosmos. And when, during the wars of heaven, their own galaxy was severely damaged, and they started a colony on Earth in the aftermath of what happened to the Earth with Elysium. So they were the second kingdom. Now, when I was in France, it links up in France with the work that I did. That will be my next book, where I go from the Lion Kingdom into Avalon. So that links up, all linked up with Africa. So that is my journey, and that's my book. And I'm very, very excited because the book is so lovely that I'm paging through it, and I'm looking at all these photos and how lovely the illustrations and the maps came out. And I've been told that every single person that reads the book will have the keys and codes within their souls activated and will have a higher consciousness shift because it goes through the heart energies and the soul energies. And it expands the soul's memory banks. So it triggers it.
Right.
So that your soul and your heart will open up your mind.
Yes.
Because your mind cannot go that far. It will go somewhere along the line.
Right.
But your heart and soul knows. What your heart and soul knows, it can transmit into the brain, and then your mind opens up. And that is the gift of this time.
Judith, and the book is just so beautiful. I want to really impress upon that by reading this book, it does open up that which is deep within you already. This is not a learning experience. It is an activation or remembering experience. And that is the benefit of taking in the information in the detail, especially that you've given. My goodness, that is very powerful energy, not only in the words that make the vibration, but with also your intention and your gratitude that you have had within you through the whole process.
Yes, that is what is it, because as I send out the books, I'm energizing them with the same energy that I've received. And actually today, as I was sitting there and I was writing, each book is handwritten. I've got it, and that's talking about the coffee table book now, and each one is it. And you know, the thing is, if you work with what the energy feels that I have been working with, you will start experiencing this as your soul triggers. That's why we're going into soul consciousness here. Your soul is infinite. Your soul has been created from the very beginning of all creation. And the 12 master galaxies that were involved with the co-creation of this planet, first with the inner earth, Agartha, and then around the earth, they were like the first galaxies that were ever created by the divine. They hold the master knowledge. It's very important to grasp this, that the seventh central sun is a master central sun. In other words, it is the hub of creation as far as knowledge goes concerned. Now, just imagine that humanity had the gift. That humanity had the gift where they could use this whole information with the divine laws for the highest good of all. We had co-creatorship. We had all knowledge under the central sun. Right? That is something to grasp in amazing part. We had the knowledge of, it says the knowledge of a tree of life and the knowledge of a flower of life is symbolic of what we had. Mm-hmm. That tree of life is ingrained in the earth's energy centers, which my book is busy triggering and telling you about. So that tree of life sits inside the earth. It's not outside the earth, it's inside the earth, as connected to the seventh central sun. Now, we have forgotten, because we self-destructed time and again, and our central lesson now is the lesson of power. What do you do with power? Power is neutral. It is what you do with power that either destructs and destroys, or it builds up and it's for the higher good of all. So that's the collective lesson here. What do you do with power? How do you use it? What are you doing with it? If all knowledge is given to you, then you have responsibility about how you will apply that knowledge. If you use it for the wrong ends, what are you going to do? You're going to separate yourself from the divine, And you're going to think, well, I'm better than the divine, or I'm greater than the divine. I don't need to listen to all the divine laws. I can do what I want. Well, that is mankind, what they did in all the times. If that is why it's so important to go back to the beginning and to see what happened to humankind. What did we do wrong? What did we do right? What did we do right? It's all a lesson about power. What do you do with power? What do you do with the intelligence that's given you? What do you do with the gifts that's given you? In the end, it comes back to the one, because the one is all, and all is one. So in other words, what you put out there is busy having a ripple effect on the whole. So you can't go and say it's because they were doing that, and this one was doing that, and that one was doing that. And I remember the exact second and the minute that this one was doing that and that and that and that. And now I go into details because I can point fingers and I can say, well, they did that. Oh la la. You did that because in some way you are responsible for the whole, and the whole is responsible for you. We are all, and all is us. So when we are one and all, we are the whole of creation.
We could just go on and talk like this for days and I would never get tired. The reason why it is so powerful connecting with you is because what you talk about is the same when I talk about I'm living in my magical world. I've created a magical world just for myself. It's my own little world. That's exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the people who are meant to be activated by this book will be so. And I know that there's a lot of people just been waiting for this book to come out because they are aware and do desire to make their own magical world. And this is an amazing tool to activate that within you already that will make your world even more magical, where you will be able to see multidimensionality. You will be able to experience the history that you are. Very powerful, very magical. Judith, thank you so much for being you. Thank you for taking the courage it takes to leave the 3D 9-to-5 job so that you can live your purpose. It is a very courageous thing to do for all of us, and it can be a struggle. And on the other side of that coin, the most wonderful thing that can happen, the unfoldment of allowing your divine purpose to unfold is vital to us now. And your book is an amazing tool to assist in that. And I just thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience. And I love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I love you too. And, to me, it's a gift that I wish to give from the depths of my soul to humanity so that we can remember. But, in the remembering, we can start applying what we know.
Yeah.
We can start rebuilding what we've lost. Yeah. So in other words, it's the first opportunity. We're giving this window of opportunity where the veils of amnesia are lifting.
Yes.
Where we can start going back in our co-creatorship. And look how we can now create a new world.
Yes.
Within hindsight of what went wrong in the beginning, and remembering how we can put it all together again and to let us rise up again. Isn't that an amazing opportunity? Yeah. And if every human being would start to accept that, would start to think out of the box, would start to go into their hearts and their souls and to let themselves be opened up to a wonderful new reality, a wonderful new consciousness, we can create the most amazing world that we can even think of.
Absolutely.
But first, it's got to start within ourselves.
Yes. Yes. If this can happen to you,
Exactly.
when when you open up to a certain
Exactly.
point, this happens.
Yes, 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 yes. You are never the same again. You can't. And interesting, once you have changed, once you've gone through this whole rebirth and transformation and total rebirth, you don't want to go back to that old you ever again. You say thank you now. You know, it's like you light years away from that person you were then.
Yes.
And that is the gift of this time, that we going through this rebirthing process. And a lot of people are so scared, clinging on to the old life or dear thing. You can't cling to that anymore. It's disintegrating, it's going away. But now embrace the new life that's coming in and open yourself from heart level, from soul level. You know, it's the same with my soul readings. Once people start reading them, they say, wow, I've always known this, at a deep level of myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say that I've gotten a soul reading from Judith, and it is an in-depth report, or however you would say it, and it does activate memories, and you read it and you can feel the energy of that aspect of yourself come alive. It's amazing. I would encourage you to get a reading from Judith. It will bring out the ancientness of you, and like you said, then once you apply that, it's not like applying to your household duties. It's applying to this depth within you. It changes the way you see things. It changes your attitude towards manifesting your own world, and each and every one of us that manifests our own world and creates that new dimensional in our own world, we're doing that for the whole. The more we all do it, the more powerful it becomes.
Yes, and that is how we affect the collective.
Yeah.
It starts within us, and as we change, we're changing the world. That is the beauty of this time. And so my heartfelt wish is that we would all start to transform into a higher version of ourselves. We're not even using a fraction of what we are capable of. And when we start to remember the truth of ourselves, the truth of creation, the truth of where we come from, we have to expand. We cannot shrink anymore. It's absolutely impossible. But the thing is, there's a deep peace that comes inside ourselves. There's a deep sort of inner knowing which transcends everything you've ever known before. And you get a calmness of being that you will not get in any other form. And it's that calmness of being that keeps you in the faith to do the next thing, so that you will do whatever you are asked to do in highest service, because you cannot do or live anything else, because we are here to serve first and foremost. And so many, when I was now in the Drakensberg and I was doing this amazing energy work, I was shown this beautiful medicine wheel. It's absolutely amazing. And there were 12 crystal pyramid temples, like I write about in my book, and 12 original tribes which were attached to each of the crystal pyramid temples. And if you can think of a most beautiful wheel spinning in a vortex energy type of thing, and it's like the rainbow sort of spins with it. And you realize that when the spinning goes, it's one. You can't see the 12 anymore because they become an energy field. Now imagine if we can, and as they said to me, all the souls that were involved in the originals are here, they incarnated. And the tribes are gathering because the tribes are recognizing themselves. We are understanding that we all are one within this whole energy field. This coming together now is a gift of a divine to us. It's a gift of each one of us. And we are being transformed into a much higher version of ourselves as we step now. And this whole vortex is going to lift us now from the 5th to the 7th dimension where we originally were. What can be a greater gift than this? And you know, when I was flying back from Durban to George, I was the plane was in turbulence, and I just asked my cosmic helpers, and I said, come on, help the plane. I was seeing this, and I tell you what, we were flying over the clouds, and I was seeing the reflection of a plane as it was busy flying, held in a bubble of light with a rainbow around it. And this stayed with us until we eventually went through the clouds and were busy landing. To me, that was like a reflection of a vision that I was given. And remember that if each of us is part of that rainbow bubble of light, we are part of a whole. And the whole is lifting us into this higher dimensional state. We are one with those tribes. We are one soul, one body, one heart, one being. And that is the gift of this time. It's that beautiful consciousness where we know we are one and all, and we are that which is cosmically there in energy fields, and we are everything that the cosmos has ever created is within us. That's the gift of this time.
That's beautiful. And it's been such a joy watching you and so many of my other guests as we're growing right before everybody.
Yes.
So amazing. And it feels so good to be with, you know, we've called ourselves gatherers, and we're doing a good job.
Yeah. We're the way showers and we're the gatherers. And we are busy gathering all together. And wouldn't it, you know, the day that this all manifests into form is the day we'll have the greatest celebration cosmically that you can imagine.
Yes.
And I'll be dancing with you there. And you'll be dancing with me, I know.
Why I was born in Africa, from Judith Kusel. JudithKusel.com. You can get it, the book there. We'll put all the information in the video. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know you love connecting with Judith as much as I do. And thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. And bless you, Sheila. And you know, as I was saying, that painting behind you, that is exactly my vision. And I say thank you so much for all that you do and for all you're radiating out in the world and for having the show. And you are touching people's hearts and souls at a very, very beautiful and profound level. Thank you so much, and bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. From my heart to yours. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.